Welcome to Stock Therapy with Penny Queen. Today I have CEO Corrado De Gasperis with Comstock. Welcome back, Corrado.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So, in the past 2 weeks, we have had a lot of big news, and I'm not even sure where to start at this point. So, let's start with Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean we can't believe how incredibly business friendly doesn't even do it justice. It feels like the state and the governor and their commerce department is literally bending over backwards, to bring us into the state, and it's wonderful. We got a $3 million grant to really quick action, it's a quick action closing fund, they call it, where they really incent companies to make decisions to domicile themselves in Oklahoma. They then followed that up with $152 million allocation of these tax-free municipal bonds. Many states get these allocations. They tend to be $300-400 million of allocations. So we straddled the calendar years. We got 75 million right at the end of 2024, and then 77 million at the beginning of 2025. And so we're very excited about that because it's a key part of building our first Bioleum refinery, in the state of Oklahoma. We're going through this process, as our licensees are as well, but we're going through this process of securing a site, securing feedstock, securing offtake, and then pulling the financing together for that package, for lack of a better, description. So all of what is happening and most of the announcements that you're seeing in fuels have a connection to that. Hexas had a connection, to that first site. The bonds, it's a little bit out of sequence, I guess. You'd like to hear feedstock, site selected, offtake, financing. But really there are three or four feeder chains. There's a critical chain, and then there's some feeder chains. So we manage them, sort of contiguously, and it's all falling into place. It's really exciting.
Well, I'd like to just say bravo. I mean, you said before that capital was pooling. This is, I was really confused as to how you got that much, but now it makes perfect sense that you straddle the 2024 and 2025. I just
Yeah.
thought, wow, that's a lot of commitment.
Otherwise be a lot. I mean, it would be a big percentage of their annual allocation. So it's actually half of that, of what it would have perceived to be. 150 out of 400 is a lot. 75 out of 400, not so much, right? So
Yeah, but I mean that says a lot about, I mean, still 75 out of 400 2 years in a row. That is a big commitment by the state. And the 3 million initially I thought was a very, very big commitment, but it looks like they are ready for your industry specifically. Right? They're
yeah,
ready.
and I can tell you, all of those announcements tie to serial number one, our first facility. They're not even stopping there. They're building up to incent us to build number two, number three, number four. That's future discussion, but it's absolutely flattering and it's really appreciated. It's really appreciated.
Well, no part of me is upset at the order that these have come in.
So
So,
at some point it'll also all make a lot more sense, but
well, I know that there's a lot of moving parts, and getting these agreements to, the definitive state takes a lot, but you're moving very quickly through this. I mean,
yeah.
as a shareholder, I'm very thankful that I found the story when I did, but there's been so much development just over the past 4 months. It's been incredible. So, and I know shareholders have already been on a ride with a lot of opportunity, and it's very clear that this is going to continue. Clearly not investing in advice, but I can look at the chart and I see there are two very massive gaps up, and it's from a technical analysis perspective, that's really nice to see, even without the context of all the facts and all the things that are unfolding, and everything is happening so quickly. So very, very juicy. Oh.
Yeah, we're building something very new, but very, very, very tangible. It's very tangible.
You know, the one thing that I feel every time we have an interview, I should have banners that just like flash up on the screen to remind people we're talking about 140 gas gallon equivalents here, that this
Yeah,
is just about twice as good as what anybody else in the world can create.
like
Like
it's more than double. Like
it
we're
was,
very confidently saying it's more than double to the next competitor. And we can back that up. I mean, very strongly.
yeah, well, I've read so many different white papers and, you know, NREL Research Hub, reading through all of that material. And I'm not going to pretend that some of it didn't go right over my head, but it's clear that's when for my investing thesis, I spend more time trying to disprove it than I spend trying to prove it. Right. I'm looking, is there anybody else? Is there any other company out there that even thinks they're on the verge of anything similar? And there's nothing.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, when I think about the facts of what you have, and I'm just talking fuels here, I'm gonna leave all the other gems out for this. Just looking at fuels and seeing a valuation under $100 million is ridiculous. It's the kind of ridiculous I like. You know, I don't want to invest in something that's at its correct level, but at the same time, I want to reach out and just shake people and say, "What do you not see this?" But
Yeah.
I'll get over that, and we can move on to this morning.
Sure.
So 8K with Marathon Petroleum.
Yes, yes. Culmination of a tremendous amount of work. We were introduced to their team 2 years ago, as part of a Department of Energy grant. It's funny now to think about it because we we submitted that we thought we could get to 85 GGEs, with some support. And what was really wonderful is we engaged Renfuel as part of that grant. We engaged Marathon as part of that grant. Before we knew it, we were at 100 GGEs, and then we were at 125 GGEs, and pretty much everyone involved in the grant, as well ultimately as the DOE, when we went back to them and said, look, it's nonsensical now. We probably can think of some really good innovations that we can be working on from this point forward, but we're actually already working on them with the National Renewable Energy Lab and you guys, DOE, in the separate project that we've initiated. And we were a little anxious because we thought they would be upset or there would be some negative implication. They were like, no, 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 we love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it. And you can always come back if you have another idea or something that you'd like to be part of. But those seeds that were planted with Renfuel and those seeds that were, planted with Marathon continued, then they never stopped. So even though it's been 2 years since that inception, the last 6 months have been extraordinary. And it's because we got to the 125, before we got to the EFT additional 15 that put us to 140. We got to the 125. We also were able to replicate the Renfuel process in our Wausau facility. So then we were able to start producing, we call it HBO, like hydrodeoxygenated bioleum oils that we can then start sending to companies. Then they can start validating the substance of our claims. And then it really took off, right? So the idea of an offtake agreement was always in the mix, since day one. And once we defined our first facility in Oklahoma, the notion of joint development, either, giving some help with, ASTM specifications, validations of the material coming out of the facility, even pathway approvals, all came into play, and then lastly, participating in what you just mentioned, right? Series A, into and directly for our fuels subsidiary. And we were purposely very thin on details because we wanted to make sure it was absolutely explicit to everybody that, that this is a term sheet that's not definitive, it's not final, you know, but we thought from a Comstock perspective, there was enough material progress and the culmination of a tremendous amount of work on both sides that we felt was material, and quite frankly, the continued work always has risk, of some leakage. And, we just like to be extra careful, from a disclosure perspective. Sometimes it's a two-headed monster, right? If you say a little, there's a risk of you saying more. We're not going to do that. We're staying very strictly within the parameters of what we disclose, but it is relevant, right? It is important. There is a Series A progressing. It has, at least a half a dozen participants, and we'd like to see it get done in the second quarter, and as we get definitive with specific agreements, then details will be shared that are final, that are definitive. And I can tell you, we're very excited, and our counterparties are very excited, about this. The idea to be able to double the yields of extremely low carbon liquid fuels that leverage existing infrastructure, existing capacities, is really a monster breakthrough. We're almost there.
There's a lot buried in here. And
Mm.
and I understand that this is a fresh deal and it's not definitive yet. So I will at least give shareholders my opinion on what I hear here without putting words in your mouth. I will say that there is a $48 billion company that believes in your technology. I talk to investors all the time that are unsure of the technology, and I think it's laughable with the amount of proof that's been put out there. But when you have a $48 billion company saying, "Hey, I want to work with this company," right? Still working on the details, but I want to work with this company. Seeing that it didn't come out on a press release tells me that you're being careful, and your shareholders as a group are very good at disseminating information amongst themselves. Comes out in the 8K. We've got it. Everybody's seen it by the time market opens. But hearing how quickly this is developed into Series A, we're talking Series A here. We're not talking penny stock territory anymore. That's
Yeah, no, I thank you for saying it. It's so important to us. Like, some of the things that, even announcing, the increase in our authorized capacity, which we're doing through a special meeting next week, through a reverse stock split, which was really just the mechanism to increasing the authorized capacity. We have some capital commitments, for the corporation. But, if sophisticated, be it strategic or financial investors want to invest in a subsidiary, I mean, it's probably the most flattering thing, that, we truly are being validated in certain ways, but you have to have stability at the corporate level. You have to have capacity, at the corporate level. Then you have to have um, uh, exit strategies even at the subsidiary level. So the idea of spinning or splitting, or ending up with an Oklahoma-based public fuels company and a Nevada-based public metals and mining company, it is, really is, it doesn't have to be done. It doesn't have to be implemented tomorrow, but there has to be commitments, right, to frankly meet the needs of these counterparties, and it meets our needs too, right? Ultimately, we believe that is the best way to unlock value for all of our shareholders. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't positive in unlocking the value to our shareholders. It's ultimately sets a platform for a super efficient access to capital. Public markets tend to be more efficient access to capital, but a cleaner story. So you have a pure, innovative, exponential growth story for fuels. You have a pure, innovative, exponential growth story for metals. There are some people that like one, and there are some people that like the others. There's also some people that like both, and you get to choose now. It'll work out for everyone. So there has been a method to all of this madness. I will say that there was a really difficult reaction to the reverse split. It's because there is a paradigm out there, that if a company, this is something really I'd like to address, right? We live in a capitalist society. The entire fabric of our social contract is to deploy capital for good ideas, for positive, continuous, sustainable wealth. Okay. There are some industries that are known for destroying capital, right? Unfortunately, some segments of the mining industry have that stigma. So, but I said this just previously in another conversation, and I'm just going to repeat it. It's like we built a mine, we poured gold and silver, we got national, state, and local recognition for our environmental stewardship. We didn't promote, like we did it. Okay. Now we're moving into, and in the last 4 years, with, tens of millions, not hundreds of millions of capital deployed. We took low TRL, like less than TRL3 tech. We brought it to 6. We brought metals to 7. We're bringing fuels to 7. For that amount of capital, for this type of economic explosive impact, right? Environmentally, incredible impact, for that small amount of capital. Wow. I mean, I like to just say to our teams, holy crap, you guys did an amazing job. We need more capital going forward. Okay. To do what? To massively grow and accrete value. Okay. So this, you have an eye for, orphaned or ridiculously undervalued companies that tend to be penny stocks. Okay. We need to graduate out and up in the capital stack. We need more um, strategic partners to achieve what we're trying to achieve at the business level. We love our investors. I mean, I had the benefit, I guess this is maybe the silver lining of this process. After announcing the special meeting, I got to engage substantially all of our top investors. And many of them are high net worth or retail. The conversations were intelligent, insightful, engaging, and now we're getting overwhelming support, based on knowledge, right? Based on a really good understanding. So I really feel great about where we come now. People can say, they can play devil's advocate and say, well, we don't know exactly how much capital you're bringing in. We don't know exactly what form that capital is coming in. You haven't built serial one yet. So even though you've got partners validating what you're doing, you haven't shown us yet. That's all fair. That's all great. If that's why we're being discounted, that's wonderful, because that's going to change. That's all coming. I don't know that that's the only reason we're being discounted, right? There's credibility points that, we're working tirelessly to earn back. Okay. And eyes wide open, right? We make mistakes or we do things that weren't productive. We want to do it better going forward. So we're thrilled. And so next week we have that special meeting. We'll announce the ratio right away. We'll have a board meeting immediately following the vote. The vote seems assured. I mean, I think it's mathematically impossible that we don't, clear it. It's actually overwhelmingly positive. We'll announce the split. We'll implement it ASAP. Hopefully that means days, not weeks. We're going through the process. We've done it before, so I think it should be very straightforward. And then progress with the Series A, right? Progress with, our licensees also, site selecting, feedstock securing, offtake securing, progress with Oklahoma and our first facilities and the support that they're giving us, and it's gonna, we're busy. We are, if you said, is there anything that's worrying you? It's, just the capacity of our team to handle everything that is right now in the hopper. Remarkable planning sessions with Hexas, remarkable discussions with Oklahoma, engagements with the people interested in the Series A, engagements with bulge bracket banks who want to place the tax-free municipal bonds. And that's a diligence process in itself, right? To have those type of bankers that are highly experienced in placing these specific types of capital, wanting our business is also a change. It's a change in our reality, so that's really it's rewarding.
Well, there has been change that has been the pattern for at least the last 5 months, right? It's change, 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 and it has all been positive. I know, I know I've heard a lot of different chatter and uncertainty with the reverse, and just as you said, a reverse when done in retreat doesn't go well. A reverse from a position of strength into a even stronger position is well worth doing. I mean, I'm voting yes, um,
Mhm.
but I think it is overwhelmingly positive. From
Yeah.
I maybe heard from two or three investors that weren't excited about it, and I said, go ahead, invest later, but that's at your own peril.
Yeah, I
So
think
you
we
do
had
what you want.
any conversation that started was more about concern and wanting to understand the reasons why and how it all came about. Once we talked through it all, people are supportive and look, I mean, would we have preferred to capitalize ourselves more strongly earlier? Absolutely. Okay. Was it impossible? I don't know, but it's very, very difficult, right, to get this size of capital when you're so early in the TRL scale. It's just very hard, right? You see what we've gone through with these counterparties. We've been put through the tests, right? And they're still ongoing. They're still ongoing, right? But more often than not, we just keep moving forward. And these capital partners, even SBC and what we announced last summer, right? We're fully engaged, like there's no loss of interest. It's just changing in the size and or nature, of the configuration. It's all, we're moving forward on all fronts, really.
Well, before I let you go, we need to talk about the SACL definitive agreement
Oh,
expansion.
yeah. Oh,
That
yeah.
that in and of itself is worth an entire interview, but things are progressing too quickly. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah. No, David Winsness is over there right now. He's in Australia. They're we first of all we had to just finalize, the term sheet and get definitive, and we did that. So that was in itself, it was an important thing to do. Frankly, it was more important for Gary and the SACL team as they're advancing their financing activities, right? They need to make sure their data room and all their dots are, all their I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But they're not letting up. Man, I mean, in New Zealand, in Malaysia, they are just identifying incredible sites, incredible feedstock sources. Those are the two you know, most prerequisites, right? They're the first two things and they go together. If you have a good site with good infrastructure, with good logistics and available feedstock, right? That's, it's almost 75% of the battle. Offtake is relatively easy, once you have, a real credible site solution, and then final steps, right? You do some site-specific engineering, you raise the equity and the capital, right, to launch the project. So they've added two more, right, to the equation, and so it's important for us to understand how they're progressing. David's out there, literally walking sites and engaging, in the discussion, supporting some of the Q&A, even from capital sources, et cetera. But again, our if I have any anxiety, it's our internal human resources
yeah.
and our ability to handle all of it. We originally, in a very idealistic mindset, we're about building our own first facility, proving the concept unequivocally, and then licensing. And so the fact that, Australia, Vietnam, New Zealand, Malaysia, Pakistan are excited about what our technologies will not only mean to them economically, but what it could mean to the energy independence of these nations. Like people do not appreciate how impactful having an oil well that never stops producing truly is. So if you find yourself, you don't need, vast fossil fuel reserves, right? What you need is land. And guess what? Not even prime land, just reasonably decent land that, it may not even be suitable for farming, but now can become oil wells that never stop producing. People, I know it's hard to believe. It's a hard paradigm to get your head around, right? It's not a tagline. It's crazy. And I have to say, like, for us, it was always a novel notion, but like when Hexas joined the discussion, it became much more than a notion, even if it was a feasible notion, we're looking at practical realities now.
Soil to oil, right? I
Soil
mean,
to oil, soil to oil. And kudos, Wendy Owen she's a monstrous entrepreneur because none of what they've created is luck. You're enriching the soils. You're enabling marginal soils to be super prosperous and productive. You are creating a carbon flux out of the air into the ground that inverts the curve. You're saving food sources and wood supplies from danger. All of that was by intelligent design, not ours, right? But in fairness, we enable the deployment of that incredible ingenuity, right? And that incredible ingenuity enables a safer, faster scale of ours. We're definitely better and stronger together as one system, right? Than the individual parts. Crazy.
I need to go knock on Wendy's door right
Crazy.
next, right down the street. So I might need to do a bit of a deep dive
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah, we can arrange a conversation. You'll of course she's busy too, but she'll do it. Like you'll yeah, you'll be blown away. They're not and you know what? They're not like, I don't know how to say this without disparaging others, right? They're not your everyday like business entrepreneurs. They're like ridiculously profound subject matter experts. Every aspect of farming, community, irrigation, power, you know, the biochemical aspects of, I mean, the interdependency with the environment, the sun, the equate, it's second to none. I've never seen anything like it. It's just remarkable.
Well, I will do my best to uh, give everybody a deep dive in that area because it's definitely interesting. I'm here on my own little organic farm, so it's
Yeah,
it's you're ticking off so many of my individual passions. It's a
it's crazy.
Yeah, if I ever have the time, I will put out for everyone the mining deep dive that I did when I went down there and toured your facilities. So
Oh yeah.
I'll
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do my best. There's been just too much going on here though. So
Jump on me too.
um
Outstanding.
all right. Well, I'm really excited for the upcoming vote and I will stand by for more news. It's been a lot. So thanks for
Listen,
all the hard work you're doing on behalf of shareholders.
my pleasure, and thanks for having me. It was really wonderful.
All right, thank you.